Federal Chair Jerome Powell to cut rates today. We have a bunch of other stories. We have Bitwise filing for a stablecoin tokenization ETF. We have a huge Chinese company raising over $500 million to buy even more Bitcoin. And it's going to be interesting when you find out which company this is. We have Strive from MSTR acquiring MSTR True North, the show. And it's interesting why. And we saw a takeover, a new CEO. We have banks coming in from all over the world starting to get into the Bitcoin world. Guys, welcome back to the coffee break. We'll go 10 minutes, 15 minutes max on these streams, give you back your time before the market really gets going here. Let's jump into this first story. Like I said, Chinese company to raise $500 million to raise money for Bitcoin through a common stock sale to purchase more Bitcoin, like I said. So crazy stuff here from China. This is a company that's already one of the biggest corporate Bitcoin holders in the world. This is going to be next technology. Like I said, China's biggest Bitcoin holder, set to raise $500 million. And just a couple things here I've noticed. Yeah, 15th largest Bitcoin holder, corporate holder worldwide. And even if a little bit is for specifically Bitcoin, this is an enormous amount, over 2,000. And they'd be pushing over 8,000 Bitcoin in their total holdings. So we'll see what they end up using it for, if they're going to end up diversifying like some of these other companies. But crazy stuff there coming out of China. Now, next we'll move over to Bitwise. This is pretty fascinating. We have a stablecoin and tokenization ETF. Now, like, what does that even mean, right? Like a stablecoin ETF, you're like, how could you possibly capitalize on stablecoin ETF? Like, what would the benefit, what would the arbitrage there be if it's stablecoin? It's not going to go up or down. And there's also a tokenization aspect. And I think that's why, and the real thing that they're really aiming to talk about here, because with Robinhood being added to the S&P 500 and with BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, going on every single news station you can go to and talk about the fact that the world is tokenized and it's going to be tokenized and this is our future. It's going to be 24/7 stock trading. There's just about no difference at this point between public and private crypto and non-crypto in the next few years, because they're starting to blend together. You're starting to see, and we've got a couple of stories here actually coming up on Binance in regards to crypto companies really having to button up here if they want to stick around. But it does look like the current financial rails of Wall Street are willing to kind of let them in, but they're obviously going to need to stick their fingers in there and do their thing, of course, as they always do. But yeah, so what's interesting about this the Bitwise thing is they're really going to be taking advantage of these tokenized stocks and tokenized options that are going to be coming out. And they're going to be index featuring companies from stablecoin issuers, infrastructure providers, payment processors, exchanges, retailers, anything that can make money. They're going to be creating an ETF around this. And so as we find more and more options and more different types of ETFs, this is one of the top things for me. This next few years is going to be the ETF conversation. I've had a lot of these recently with some of the top ETF people in the space. And the idea of wrapping and putting together multiple different packages in one, things that multiple people believe in, whether it's going to be a Bitcoin and gold one or what have you, I think it's really big, because the average investor who's not coming from Bitcoin is way more apt to try out an ETF that involves multiple things, including one or two that they are more comfortable with before they, go and say, yeah, let me add 1% of my exposure to Bitcoin. Yeah, let me potentially throw away all my hard-earned money, because they don't know any better. They don't realize what they're buying. So they look at Bitcoin and they say, this is the riskiest thing ever. And I'm sitting here going, man, you staying around in the currency you're in is the biggest problem ever. Texchange, what's up? Good to see you. And the Fed. Yeah, I thought this hat might be perfect for today. So we got 7 minutes or so. I'm going to have to skip through a couple of these because I don't know if we'll have time. I'll come back if we do, because there's a couple of interesting clips here. Like Eric Trump, for example, is one of the only people in Washington, I think, who actually understands. And I'm willing to say that and stick my voice behind it. I don't think I've heard anyone else on Wall Street, really. I mean, a few people, but he's probably the most prominent and the guy who's going on most shows. But Eric Trump, dude, very, very well spoken in regards to Bitcoin. I think he understands the asset. I think he understands the rails, why it's here. Now, I think that's why he's so big on stablecoins, because he sees an opportunity. And I think the better opportunity would be to go heavier into Bitcoin. But honestly, I'm not mad about I guess I'm not surprised that they would throw in a world liberty kind of thing for the Trump family, but I'm surprised at how much Eric Trump has been going to bat for specifically Bitcoin. He's willing to talk about the other things that are going on in crypto, but he's pretty gung-ho on separating Bitcoin and crypto. And I think that's a really important thing. It's not a shot at anyone. It's just true. Bitcoin and crypto are not the same. There's a reason that a lot of the Bitcoiners just can't survive in crypto spaces and vice versa. They're just different. They're different crowds. Nothing wrong with it. Just different crowds. One crowd's talking about, currency and, where do you put your retirement so you're not losing money over time. Another crowd, typically, they're more interested in the short term, and they're more talking about the opportunities and DeFi and stuff. And that's just two different crowds. And it's one of those things. You just got to figure out why you're here. Anyways, Strive to announce a strategic acquisition of MSTR True North Inc. True North. This is that show that you guys are familiar with. It's got all the guys, Jeff Walton. You guys have seen Adrian Morris. Many people that you guys recognize from like these shows. They've been doing this show for a while. This community they've built up. And Jeff Walton is going to be this new CEO. If you guys remember Jeff, here's his profile picture. If you guys recognize him, very well known in the space. He'll be taking over as CEO. And yeah, really interesting stuff. So here's kind of the story here. Essentially, MSTR is thinking of how many ways can we kind of take a book out of Trump's book and get stuff for free or for relatively cheap prices and get things that we don't have in order to leverage up. And so essentially, they are doing this with a I think they're getting a good deal is what I'm gathering here. The guys on the MSTR stream are going to get obviously a massive boost. Any kind of, anything on the back end that they need, that's going to get all taken care of through this, I imagine. And in return, MSTR now has a massive media engine, not to mention the fact that it's funded by them. So they're never going to say anything bad about it, I imagine. I don't know the details of it. So I'd like for the future of sponsorships and funding and all these things, especially with the amount of conversations going on today, that if you are funded by someone, they cannot stick any kind of, it's impossible. I know. So it's not even worth bringing up, honestly. To give money to someone and then to not have any kind of lien on them is impossible. So I don't even know if it's worth bringing up. Let's move on to the next story here. We've got UBS, we've got Signum Bank, and Post Finance from Swiss. The Swiss banks are coming into the world of crypto, and they just completed their first legally binding blockchain-based payment. They're here, fam. The stablecoins and the banks have been here, but they're really here now. Let me jump over to the price of Bitcoin. We've got Bitcoin tumbling down a little bit in the last day, really finding, looks like 115.7 is where we're at currently. Like I've been saying, until we can show some type of sign of what direction we're headed, we're stuck in this range. And until we can decide if this range is our new support or new resistance, we're going to range all in this area. Until we get a confirmed break up or down, we're stuck here. And that's the reality of it. But look, if you guys want to get started trading, Osseum's an excellent platform. You guys can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Meta, the S&P, whatever you're trying to trade. It's all in one place. Excellent platform. You can trade up to 100x leverage here as well, depending on the asset. And a really great, easy to use platform. If you're looking to get started trading, definitely recommend you get started. If you're on X, definitely just click the tweet down below the stream and you guys can check out Osseum. Use code WOLFC to get started. But yeah, excellent platform. Binance it talks with the DOJ to end its 3-year compliance monitoring requirement for the $4.3 billion settlement. This is, of course, coming from a few years ago when, they sort of got caught for failing to prevent money laundering. I guess you could call it that. I feel like that's an interesting play on words, but yeah, you failed to prevent money laundering. And essentially their goal is to get them to move to eliminate this specific part of the specific detail in the case, I guess, in order to probably not pay $4.3 billion. I think that's the story. Got about 2 minutes or so here. I'm going to fly through the last few stories here, and we're going to jump into our first space on X, the Market Talk space with all the traders, in just a second. If you guys haven't already, please do retweet the space if you enjoyed the stream. If you're here, if you're ready for Jerome Powell to step on the chair and decide whether or not we're going up, we're going down, or we're going sideways. I feel like either scenario is I don't know. Let's turn over to Canada. Canada looking like they're seeing the stablecoin action over in the United States and saying we're going to get a piece of that. So they're introducing 4.1% USDC rewards in Canada. That's an alternative to other savings accounts options that are just obviously not paying anything. And so I guess it's a step in the right direction. Kind of. I don't know about Canada, to be honest. I feel like that's a very slippery slope already. And for Canada to take it on, I'm not so sure. Metaplanet raising $1.4 billion to buy even more Bitcoin. Ancient Bitcoin whale just moved 99 Bitcoin, $11 million. First time it's moved in 12 years. So I guess they found their recovery phrase. We have publicly traded hyperscale data launching $100 million Bitcoin treasury strategy funded partly by selling its data center assets. Looks like companies are really starting to pile in here if they believe it. I'm just nervous because we're at these all-time highs and we're either going to melt up or we're going to melt down. I don't think we go sideways forever. Final story here, I'll just mention it. I can't go into it all the way because we don't have time, but Google launches its AI payments protocol, AP2, with support for stablecoins, and they partner up with Coinbase, PayPal, MasterCard, and others. So big news from a lot of the companies building in the world. Listen, guys, that's all I have for you today in this coffee break episode. Have an amazing day. We're going to jump into our space.